I landed here on January 24th, 2020. I could not believe how cold it was. It was minus 30 when I landed here. I actually did not have anywhere to stand. So that is where my journey of homelessness started. Got here and ended up experiencing homelessness for about 3 months. And it was not easy navigating that time. And if we remember, 2020 was, COVID. Mid-February of 2020 is when Edmonton shut down.
So what was going through your mind? Were you feeling lost or wanted to give up? What was happening psychologically, mentally?
I'll be honest with you, there's so many times that I felt like giving up, so many times. And even thinking that, was this worth it? Now, could I turn back? No, I could not, because the country was in lockdown.
Hi, Bryan. Welcome to Aligned Voices.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
And so this is a very common question that I ask my guests. How would you introduce yourself, or who is Bryan to the listeners who are listening to you for the first time?
Awesome. So my name is Bryan Mwaka, and if you'd ask me who Bryan is a Black man who moved to Canada about 6 years ago, and loves to inspire people to become their better selves. I'm a Christian man as well, and I live by the Bible and by my faith. My faith has been very strong in my journey, and it's what's gotten me to where I'm at today.
Wonderful. So, Bryan, let's start with the younger version of Bryan. How was your childhood? How was the environment around you? What beautiful things happened, and what were certain things that you did not like about your childhood? So,
Mhm.
how was it growing up?
Yeah, so I grew up in Uganda. Originally, I'm from Uganda, grown and raised, and I am uh, one of three siblings. I'm the firstborn of the three, and growing up was amazing. I'm very thankful to God that I still have my parents living. They're back in Uganda, and growing up was awesome. Being back in Uganda, the years that we grew up, it was an interesting time, and just seeing how the country has come through. I have two siblings, a sister and a brother, and we grew up together. There was a time in our lives where my parents had to leave and move to the UK for work. And we stayed with my maternal auntie, one of them. And it was awesome because it was like having a bigger family. We still have the proverb that it takes a village to raise a child. And you can tell that that was something that was very, very apparent when we grew up. And it was just amazing growing up around my cousins. And I call them my brothers and sisters. So if you'd ask me, yes, I do have my two siblings, but I do have a lot of brothers and sisters who, right now are all grown, married, and have kids. And yes, it's amazing. It was good, and I'm very, very thankful for my childhood.
And so, growing up was a wonderful experience for you. You were surrounded by all your family members, being raised under their warmth with rich culture, morals. So, it was definitely a wonderful childhood for you. How was your youth?
Yeah, my young adulthood was really good as well. And so I'm not so sure if they have boarding school here where your parents put you away in a school and you stay there for the term. I don't know if they have it here in North America. They probably do have some, but yeah, back home I was in boarding school, and I think during that time I was able to mature. So the idea for the boarding schools is to get somebody to become more independent and more mature, and that's where it came from. And so it was awesome just growing up and realizing the young man I was becoming, and having friends and going to the different schools was really good. So just realizing the giftings that I had. One of the giftings that I know that I have is leadership because I was thrust in so many different leadership positions while I was in school. And yeah, that got me to realize that, you know what, leadership is something that God has put on me. So I need to grow it. I need to nurture it. And so, yeah, my middle time of school or my youth, young adult years was a very, very, very interesting time.
So boarding school had been quite an influence on you, right? To make you independent and to
Yeah.
shape you up for all the leadership roles.
Yes, 100%.
And were you volunteering as well during that period?
So yes, during that period, I was volunteering, but not as much because at school, it was full time, and so it was not easy to find volunteer opportunities back home. But every now and then, whenever there would be something going on in school where I could be part of as a volunteer, I would be part of that.
Oh, talking about the transition, right? Like the
Mhm.
decision that you made to leave one geography behind to come to a new country altogether, which was completely new for you. So, how easy or how difficult was that decision?
Oh, that decision was not easy at all, actually. It was one of those decisions that when you make at a certain age, it has a little bit of um, it has implications. It has implications when you make it at a later age to move to a new geographical location because you have to basically uproot yourself, put yourself somewhere else, and you basically restart your life. One of the things I still believe is it's okay to stop and reset. It's okay to start over, and I still believe that. And I was very, very thankful to do that here in Canada. And, moving from Uganda to Canada had never been something that I thought I would ever do. And when that happened, it happened during COVID. And moving here was not easy. It was a very, very tough time, but it was something that I needed to do. It was that time that I probably need to move. And I had my sister, my brother, and my parents helped me with that transition as well. And it was an interesting time. It's one of those things that one of those journeys in my life where I know that it did change the trajectory of my life. Mhm.
So, the family stood by you, they shaped the transitions completely, right? They prepared you for the whole new journey.
Yeah, they
So, what
did.
besides family do you regret the most leaving behind?
Oh, I regret living the food, the weather, the the fruits. Yeah, I regret leaving that behind. Apart from my family and friends, yeah, the food, the weather, the fruits. Yeah, I that's something I'm just like I wish I could bring that with me, but yeah, it's not possible. So yeah, yeah.
And when you came to Canada, when you landed here, what was your first reaction? Like, how was it?
Yeah, so when I landed here, to make it exact, I landed here on January 24th, 2020. And I'll never forget because I came through Pearson in Toronto and then transferred to Edmonton. And landing here, I could not believe how cold it was. It was minus 30 when I landed here. And when we study about your boiling point and cooling point and then freezing point, zero is freezing. And so I was like, how do human beings survive in minus 30? So it was minus 30 when I got here, and it was a shock to the system. It was one of those things that I can never express to anybody. And for anyone who has come from a tropical or warm country to this, they have the words, or sometimes they don't have the words to express how much yeah, that shock hit them. And for me, it was the same. And moving here and realizing that I actually did not have anywhere to stand. So that is where my journey of homelessness started. Um, I got here and ended up experiencing homelessness for about 3 months, and again met different friends. I was able to couch surf for a little bit, sleep on a friend's couch, and it was not easy navigating that time. And if we remember, 2020 was, COVID. Mid February of 2020 is when Edmonton shut down, and they shut down the city, and the country shut down, and different organizations, the country itself, the government was still figuring out how do we navigate this as we support the people or in community. So it was not easy, but in hindsight, right now I look back and I'm like, I'm very, very thankful because it has given me a purpose. It has given me my reason to keep going because there is a story behind that.
Yeah, talking about homelessness. So, when you reached Edmonton, did you have any place to stay, anywhere to go?
Yeah, I did not have anywhere to go, anywhere to stay. And yeah, and I stayed in a shelter for a little bit. I was able to make some friends and, stay with them for a little bit, as well as I advocated for myself to get housing. Because again, during that time, nobody was in office. Every now and then you would, you know, try and see if you were able to catch somebody in office so that you can go advocate for yourself, look for housing. And, because of COVID, there was the confusion, should people be in office? Should people, work from home? It was not yet concrete what people were doing. And so it was tough to just get somebody who could help you when you walked into an office.
Speaking of you, you're coming from a very different country where the laws and the policies, everything was very different from Canada. So, how did you get a direction, like whom to approach, where to go?
Yeah, so I was able to get help from different friends that I made while I was here. And so they're the ones who were giving me ideas on where to go, who to approach, which authorities to go to. And they helped me navigate that so that I was able to figure out where do I even start from when it comes to looking for housing or income support, you know, filing my paperwork as well. That was navigating all of that. I had no idea where it started from, but there were amazing friends who helped me through that journey. And again, it goes back to community, right? When you find a community wherever you go, that community rallies around you and they're able to help you come up. And personally, for me, that's something that I always look for. I always look for community because that's what we're made for. Human beings are made for connection, and when we detach from the connection of being around people, we seclude ourselves, and that navigating life without community becomes tough. And so community is something that is very, very important. And I had a community around me that helped me figure out where do I go. And again, just like I mentioned, it was, yes, they knew, they directed me to the right places, but because of COVID, some days, you'd find people in office, other days you would not. And yeah, the country was still navigating what COVID was and what life was going to look like during that time.
And what was going through your mind during that phase when you were left to go nowhere and everything was shut and we were battling COVID? So,
Mhm.
what was going through your mind? Were you feeling lost or wanted to give up? Uh,
Mhm.
what was happening psychologically, mentally?
I'll be honest with you. There's so many times that I felt like giving up, so many times, and even thinking that was this worth it? Now, could I turn back? No, I could not because the country was in lockdown, right? But there's so many times when I felt like giving up and numbing myself, and obviously numbing myself would get into addiction, right? But uh, I mean, even with my faith kept me going, but the number of times I was very angry at God and I'm like, what is going on? Why is life like this? Why is it so hard? And it felt like I was fighting a battle that I could not win, but in the back of my mind, I knew that this was not it. This was not the end. And There is a saying, I forget the gentleman that says it, that sometimes the bottom of one mountain is the top of the other. So, sometimes you're going to go through those valleys, and those valleys sometimes you're there longer than you want to, but those valleys are meant to build your character. They're meant to stretch you so far that they make you a better person. And so 100%. I felt like giving up. I felt like, no, this is not worth it. Why am I going through this? Why am I even, trying so hard to find housing? But I always say that given how you grew up, given your background, given what you have going on in your life, or what you have been through, there is a part of you that keeps fighting. There's a part of the human spirit that keeps fighting. When we wake up every morning, the human spirit is asking, what is our assignment for today? It doesn't matter that, you're going through a tough time or a sickness. No, it's your brain, your heart that knows that, okay, my body's struggling, but the human spirit keeps fighting. It keeps striving. The brain will keep you safe, because the brain, that's what the brain is meant to do. It's meant to keep you safe. But the human spirit, it's to keep fighting, because we have to keep fighting every day. And people's journeys are different. Everybody's fight is so different. But yeah, during that time, I had to dig deep and keep fighting, and know that there is purpose. There is something more to this than that. And I knew that coming out on the other side, I will have a story to tell. And I hope that this story would be able to help somebody else realize that, you know what, I can get through. There is purpose in this pain.
So, I believe you were not alone, because you said there were others as well who were going through the similar situation. Were they as determined as you, or you met somebody who gave up?
Yeah, I met two groups of people. I met people who had given up and were leaving for today. But I also met a lot of friends, and some of them were from Uganda as well. And those are some of the friends who helped me, who had been through this journey. And they're like, man, don't give up. We will walk through this. And those are the friends that actually helped me navigate figuring out where to go, the system and all of that. And so um, that really, really gave me hope. I met others who honestly had given up. And during that time, it was also a time for me to speak life into them, and be at a place where I'm like, hey, look, like, it doesn't look like it right now, but you can come through this, right? And at the end of the day, it's a journey. You have to journey through this. Very many people will see the success of somebody, but will never understand the journey it took to get there. And for anybody who is quote unquote successful, or anybody who looks like they've made it, it always intrigues me to be able to sit down with them and ask them, what has your journey been like? What story is behind where you are right now that a lot of people do not know? And so, yes, I did meet a lot of people who had been through the same journey and had made it to the other side. Some were still going through their journey, but some had also been at a place where they had given up, and they were like, no, I'm tired of fighting. And it was tough, but it was an interesting season to be in. But I'm very, very thankful, because having both perspectives just helped me keep fighting, but also encourage those people who had given up, and telling them, do not give up, just keep fighting.
So during your, those days where you did not have a shelter or did not have a home to stay in, uh, and you said that you at times ended up on your friend's couch, but did you also live on streets as well, like for days?
Yes, there are moments when I lived on the street and stayed in a tent, and those were tough. Those were very, very, very tough days. But I'm very thankful that there were not as many, because I was able to stay with friends. The shelters were available, but again, if you remember during COVID, because of the social distancing, a lot of the
Yes.
shelters were not up to capacity. So, a shelter that would hold 250 with social distancing, that would be cut by half, right? And it was not easy doing that. And so it was tough. 100% lived on the street, lived in tents for a little bit there, but yeah, it's a season that I know that made me who I am today and has shaped a lot of what I do today.
So, Brian, I wanted to ask you had a home back in your country. You
Yes.
had people around you, and you never thought of this situation ever in your life. The first day on the street, how was it?
Oh, that was tough. I never thought I would ever go through this in my whole life. But I think one of the things that I can explain that season of my life with is something that my counselor told me, is that sometimes our brains go into fight, flight, and freeze. And those are situations or cognitive times that you go through as a human being, where when you're faced with a situation, you're either going to fight, you're either going to freeze, or you're going to go to flight. You're going to run and just not want to face it. And I feel like that during that time, as much as I could not believe it, part of me was thinking, I still need to leave. I still need to keep moving. I need to figure this out. And it was tough. It was tough. Knowing that I had come from a place where, I have a bed, I have a roof over my my head, to a different
And
country
knowing that
where,
you won't ever go
yeah,
hungry or won't be
exactly.
without a roof.
Yeah,
So yeah, so
exactly. Yeah. To a place where now I'm thinking, okay, I'm at a place where I'm like, some days I don't even have something to eat, or I eat one meal a day. Like, that was very, very tough. And I could not believe it. I could not believe that this was happening. And the other thing I can tell you is that, coming from Africa, what we see about the Western world is nothing like what I went through. All we see is the lash and the beautiful things, but you don't realize the reality of being in a country like this. And every country goes through something. The reality of the fact that there are people who are hurting, the people who are going through what they're going through. And I think that was very, very humbling, knowing that when you go to the different countries, it's very easy to not realize that even for those countries, there is a lot that happens there. And so, personally, for me, going through this was a huge realization. And also seeing people on the street was a huge realization that there is real life here, people going through tough times. And um, it was an eye opener, but very, very, very humbling time as well. Hmm.
um, I'm really happy that you changed things around for yourself and you stayed really positive through that phase. You did not give up on your faith. You did not lose the direction. Uh, on the streets, did you ever come across others who were not determined or ended up relying on substances to numb whatever they were going through, numb their pain or their loss or grief?
Hmm. Yes, yes, yes. I came across a lot of people on the street. Some of them became my friends. A lot of them have died off along the years, but yes, I did come along. I did come alongside a lot of them, and I met a lot of them who used substances to numb what they were going through. And at the time, coming from where I came from, I did not understand it. It's afterwards that I came out of it that I did understand um, what that looked like and why that happens, right? And there's a guy who he's a doctor in Vancouver, and he's worked in East Hastings, and he talks about how um, the opposite of addiction is connection. When somebody lacks a connection to community, a connection to something else, they will replace that with something else, and usually it's addiction. He also said that a lot of the people that you will see on the street, 90% of them or 98% of them will have adverse childhood experiences that have led them there. Every one of the people that you see on the street has a story, and that story stems back to their childhood. Something happened in childhood that brought them to where they are today. And I always say that there are people who have come through and have made something better of their lives, but there's some who are still struggling. And for me, having been with them and having walked that journey, and right now the work that I do is within the unhoused community. I see what life looks like, and I can relate to a certain extent because depending on what your life was like growing up, if you do not know any better, you are not going to see anything better than what you have right now. It does take a lot of brain power or rewiring your brain to see something different from what you experienced as a child. And depending on what that looks like, you have nightmares or you have thoughts that come back and you're trying to numb those or you're trying to run away from those. It's just going to be hard. And some people are not willing to unpack what that looks like because they're scared, right? When you sit before a psychologist and a psychiatrist and you have to talk about what your childhood was, it's almost like ripping a bandage off a wound so that they can treat it. And for some people that they don't even want to go there. And so it becomes hard and becomes a cycle. And again, like you've said, numbing whatever that felt like goes into then addiction.
And since you know you have come across so many people, yet people with both perspective, right? People who
Yeah.
wanted to continue, while there were some who were giving up or who wanted to give up, or maybe given up. Do you have any story that had stuck to you? Like if you have one story of a person who you really wanted to keep on trying, and but he decided to give up.
Yeah. So there's a friend of mine who I met on the street, and sadly he passed away a few years ago, and he was an awesome friend, but suffered mental health, severe mental health. But whenever he was on medication, he was doing well, and every now and then he would miss medication, and so at some point I made it my um my one goal to make sure that I do walk with him so that he gets his medication whenever he needed to get his medication. But this is a guy who grew up, had his siblings, about five siblings of his. He had five siblings, but grew up in a very, very dysfunctional household. Um, Mom and dad were not seeing eye to eye. Dad was on alcohol most of the time. Mom tried as much as possible, but with all the stress, she also got addicted to substance, and so he was left to look after his siblings. And when child services got a hold of what was happening, and then they were separated, and so he didn't get to see some of his siblings ever again, and that spiraled for him, and he ended up on the street. And did he try to get off the street? He did so many times, but mental health kicked in. It became so hard. Um, he getting onto substance every now and then. That again made him spiral a lot more. I made it my my one goal, like I mentioned, to make sure that he always got his medication. Even when he forgot, I would be like, "Hey, let's walk down and let's get it." At the end of the day, I learned that sometimes you're not going to force somebody to do something they don't want to do. and you have to find a way of helping them see that, no, this is good for you, this is something that you need. And so, yeah, sadly, I lost touch with him after some time, and I got to find out that he had passed on, and it was very, very hard because I saw somebody who had a lot going for them, a friend who had a lot going for them. Yes, was their childhood tough? I cannot even imagine, but I I hoped that I would be able to help them on their journey, walk alongside them to see that they were able to make it to the other side. But yeah, that was very, very tough. Um, that's one of the stories. There's so many other people that we have worked with, or that I work alongside in my job today, that it's tough to see them go through certain things. But I know that it's a journey. I do understand that it's a journey, and for some people, the journey doesn't look like what we want the journey to look like for them, and it can be tough sometimes. But it's also very humbling to see them make steps every day to be better, and it's about recognizing those steps and recognizing the journey, not recognizing the outcome and want the outcome for them. Yes, the outcome, you want the outcome to be good, but it's also acknowledging that their journey is not easy, but they're making progress in the journey.
Wonderful. I just wish he was here really listening to you and could understand that you wished he
Yeah.
got a direction. Um, Talking about something that really inspired you, like someone who faced all odds. Of course, you are one among them. So
Mhm.
we'll definitely talk about what you're doing right now in some time.
Yeah.
But any story from the streets or a person that inspired you, he or she fought all odds and got a direction, and
Um,
yeah, they turned the whole thing for good.
Um, to be honest, right now I cannot think of anyone right now while I was going through it. Though I can say that there are people who I have met in the shelters as I worked um, during my time here, as I've worked with the organization that I work with. There's some people who I have met, who I have seen just go through, and it's been very, very encouraging to see that they have fought to um, you know, come through what they've come through. And you listen to their stories and you're like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Like, you were on the street for 20 plus years, and you have been able to make your way off the street, walk through the addiction, get stable housing, get something to do work wise, and figure life out. There are a few stories like that that I have heard, and it's very, 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 very encouraging. Very, very encouraging. Um, but for me, I can say, even while I was going through that season of my life, there's so many friends of mine who I met here, and they told me a little bit of their story as well, moving here, and ending up figuring things out. There are a number of them as well who have a story that is a little bit similar to mine. And they're the ones that encouraged me. And I was just like, oh my goodness, if they can make it through this, I know that I can make it through this. They have fought through it. They know the system. They have made it to now. I know that I can make it through. So those are some of the ones that encouraged me. Again, I always default back to my faith. When you look at what Jesus went through on the cross and came out on the other side, you know that you can overcome anything. You know that he has a plan. There is a plan for you. As the Bible tells me, he has a plan for me. So I have to stick to that plan. There is a reason as to why I'm going through this pain. I still believe that there is purpose in pain. If you decide to just rewire your brain a little bit, and still believe that, you know what, I'm going through this season. Seasons don't last, and we can see it here. And that's why I love Canada, because it actually shows you how seasons don't last. We go through
But
winter and you
tough
think,
people do. But
yeah,
tough people
exactly.
do.
Yeah, exactly. You go through winter and you're like, holy, this is so long, but you open your eyes and it is spring, and everything that had died off comes back and it's new. And I thought about it the other day. When you look at the leaves that are on the tree right now, during winter time, those leaves are going to die off. But there's going to be something new, something different next year. I'm just like, that is awesome. That is why I believe that we are made new every time we go through a season. Yes, does your past sometimes come back and haunt you? 100%. But you have to use your past to propel you to what the future holds. And we don't know what the future holds, but we can be able to walk into the future knowing that, you know what, it's a different season. This is a different season of my life. There is the gentleman, I forget his name, but I will mention this again. He says that the top of one mountain is the bottom of the other. So let's keep climbing. Let's keep climbing, because when we say that we want to get there, there becomes here. And when you get there, you're feeling like, okay, I've gotten here. I still believe that there is something more. There is something more to keep fighting for. And so being able to know that, you can make it through, and listening to other people's stories, or what, your life has been like, that propels you to go through. And for me, I would say that it's a mixture of a lot of things that helped me to keep fighting and to keep going through.
Absolutely. So you were quite lucky to have good people around you, right? And you had your faith intact that helped you move through the whole journey. I just wanted to understand if parents or friends see their loved ones go through mental trauma or maybe substance abuse. Uh,
Mm.
what what should they do? What better can they do, and what should they avoid doing to
Yeah,
help their
I
loved
think
ones?
one of the greatest things is to show up. Someone knowing that you're there means a lot, especially if it's family. That's the greatest thing, because I know that it's very easy to want to get to a place where, you see the person healed and not going through what they're going through, and it's very easy to use the negative to want to get the positive. And by negative, I mean condemning what they're doing. And at the end of the day, what they're doing is harmful to their body or to themselves. But it's showing up and being supportive in their journey of figuring it out, and whatever that looks like for them. But also getting around different organizations that can help them. So, and creating a community. Okay, maybe I'm too close to the picture. Maybe there is an organization, or there is some of the people who can help me in this journey. Um, and I think that's very, very, very important. I am honestly privileged to serve on a board with CASA Mental Health, and that's an organization here in Edmonton, and we're expanding to other cities. And the main thing, or the main vision for CASA, is to see that we help the missing middle when it comes to children who are children and families who are going through mental health. And it's about having that community, because sometimes as parents, or sometimes as siblings, we're not able to help the our immediate loved ones, especially if we do not know what we're responding to, or what they're going through. Sometimes it's very, very hard, but the main thing is showing up. What not to do is condemn them, because sometimes, even for them, it's overwhelming. They're wondering, I do not know why I'm going through this, or why I'm feeling this, and they might not be able to articulate. So, being able to show up, do research, figure out organizations or people who can help them, that goes a long way, to see that you help them on their journey. And when they are on the other side, they'll be able to sit down and say thank you for not pushing me aside or seeing me like an outcast, but just walking alongside me, even in the tough times. And that's when it counts. When it's tough and you have somebody stand by you, that's when it really, really counts.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think it would be really useful for listeners who are parents or who are seeing their loved ones suffer, I think this would definitely uh, be very, very helpful for them.
Mm.
Another most important thing that I feel, and I have been talking to a lot of guests who have battled addiction
Mhm.
in their, is to realize that relapses happen
Yeah.
and our presence should be strong there. And we should be
Mm.
talking about relapses because it is just not that you have a problem, you go to a rehab or program, you have enrolled,
Yes.
and you come
Yes.
out sober.
Yes.
There are relapses in between, and we are not talking enough about it.
Yes.
So
Yes. And I share the same view. It's about the consistency, right? When you have somebody consistently there, yes, it's also hard for them. It's hard for them to see you relapse. It's hard for them to see you go through that. But when you have them consistent, and that's the thing with parents or loved ones who have loved ones who are going through that cycle. It's about constantly being there. They know that even when on a good day, on a bad day, you're always there. You will not give up on them. That alone gives them a reason to keep fighting, right? It gives them a
uh-huh.
reason to know that, you know what, there is somebody out there who loves me so much that they are encouraging me. They're not giving up on me. So let me keep fighting. Yes, I yesterday I fell down, or yesterday I, missed the boat, but you know what? I'm gonna get up today and keep fighting. That is already a leg up for them, right? And yes, I share the same. You know what? Somebody will relapse, somebody will go through, and that's the reality, right? It's not linear. It's going to be, there's going to be ups and downs, but it's about not giving up and keep moving and standing with that person. But the consistency of community, the consistency of somebody who loves you, goes a long way to give you a leg up to know that I believe somebody's out there. So yeah.
I thank you so much for sharing that. I think that's very important. We have to focus on relapse too. I know it's not easy for families to see their loved ones sober and then again relapse.
Mm.
But then still we have to stay stronger as community, as loved ones, as parents. I think yes, we have to stay stronger there. Now coming back to your, you know, uh, a current work or your current project, what are you working on at the moment?
Yeah, so at the moment, so I work with Mustard Seed here in Edmonton. I work as a campus navigator, um, and my main role is I work alongside the peace officers off of the University of Alberta. And my main role is to respond to any social disorder calls. I'm part of a team called the Community Assistance Team, and we help walk alongside our community members here. Anybody who could be going through a challenging time, it could be homelessness, it could be food insecurity. We help them, just walk alongside them to figure out how they can navigate getting any help from any organization, our inner city organizations mainly. And so that's the work that I do full time. I'm a part time fitness trainer as well. And then I started a podcast, and I am starting a podcast. It's called Your
Awesome.
Voice. Yeah, Your Voice Chronicles podcast. And again, the focus is around storytelling, being able to tell our stories, because everybody that you will meet around you has a story. And it's
Absolutely.
about being at a place where we're able to sit down and share those stories. One of the things that I remember growing up was having my grandmother or my grandfather sit down and share their stories, their life stories. And that is something that I know some families still have, but I feel like it's dying out. So if we can have a space where people share their real raw stories, what the journey has been like, so that people just don't look at what they have achieved. People look at the journey that they have taken to be there. And again, it's not about the big achievements. It's about being able to know that, you know what, I got through yesterday. I got through today, or this has been my story. And It could be a bus driver. It could be a single mother. It could be the person working in the corner office, or it could be the person who cleans our tables. Everybody is carrying a story. And sometimes those stories are stories of resilience, of growth, of becoming. And those are the stories that sometimes help us become our better selves, because sometimes somebody needs to hear your story to keep going in theirs. And so that's going to be the main focus of the podcast.
Wow. And
Yes.
did you launch it yet, or are you about to launch?
Yes, so I will be launching it this month. I have my first episode is going to be the why behind the podcast, and then I will be telling my story as well this month.
Lovely. I think you have come a long way, and I am sure that you would be showing the right direction to people who are in need. Eh, So, if listeners want to take one thing from the podcast today, what would you want them to hear?
Let's see. One thing that I want them to take away from this podcast is one. I will say it again. Um, the top of one mountain is the bottom of the other. So keep climbing. Surround yourself with people whose eyes light up when they see you. Surround yourself with the right people, because sometimes we have around us people who are not right for us. So surround yourself with the right people. And the other thing I would say is that you have a story, and your story is powerful. So don't give up telling your story. Go out there and tell your story. And I can always say that your story is not over yet. Keep fighting, keep going.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Yes.
And that brings us to the end of this podcast. And I'm sure that we are going to have more episodes where we would be talking about different aspects that listeners should be hearing and that would be helpful for them as well. Thank you so much. And it was really good to have you.
Thank you very much. It was an awesome honor to be here.
Thank you so much. Bye.
All right. Bye bye.
To stay connected, visit our website and follow Healthy Aligned Living on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube for more conversations, insights, and updates. If you would like to reach out, you can contact us by phone at 1-866-213-0518 or email us at info@healthyalignedliving.com. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who might benefit from it as well.